last time, so we're recording from now. Hopefully you're all making good progress with the MEC, and in between all of the other distance learning and preparing for opening and everything else, you've had the odd chance to do another course or two. The Minecraft courses on there are really good, and they form part of a series. There's 5 or 6 from memory that all link together, and if you're going to start delivering teaching and learning with Minecraft education in the classroom, I really would recommend doing the course on the MEC for that. It's certainly helped me a lot and got me started, and it also gives you 5 little qualifications that add up to be one big one. So hopefully last time, I know a couple of you nodded in agreement and said that you've been creating sways, so that's good to hear that has been going on. Has anyone had a go at making a Microsoft form? No?
Yep, I've had a go at a form.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've made a form.
Yay.
Yeah.
Any feedback on that?
I guess it's just how easy it is to use, really. Like, my class have been creating them for one another as part of a sway, and they've blown my mind. But I think it's just it's just because the software is so easy to use that, having watched one video of me doing it, they're able to do it. So it's really positive.
Good to hear. I've found a lot of success recently with, I've been doing quite a few webinars for the distance learning in the DFE project in assignments in Teams, using the forms function in there for either consolidation quizzes to check if learning is secure, or if you're going to come on to something new, giving them a prior sort of refresher quiz to see what they do and don't know. That's been quite successful as well in Teams. Okay, and then you obviously have been considering how you can use them across the school, and if I minimize that and get that out of the way so the recording is actually visible, we are going to come on to some dates for at the end of this presentation for the remaining bits of the course, and hopefully you're all still following those Twitter accounts. And there's been some really useful tweets in the last couple of days, not just about the Teams updates that are coming out, but also future updates. I'm delivering a general webinar on that for all of the Turn It On schools at the end of the week, so you'll be able to join me on that one. Minecraft itself, I think we've covered all of those. We are going to be recording the session. We're doing that now, and as usual, just leave your mics off if you're not talking, just in case there's any background noise around you, and the same with cameras in case there's anyone wandering around and they suddenly realise they're in the middle of a recorded video. If you've got anything, we don't need to necessarily put it in the chat, but if you think I'm in the middle of a flow and you want to make a note of it, throw it in the chat and we can pick it up from there. Areas we're going to cover today, we're going to have a look at, well, why Minecraft for education? It's often the first question I get. Martin, why am I going to entertain bringing a game into my classroom? Then we're going to have a quick chat about the technical setup. It is a little bit fiddly the very first time, but your Turn It On consultant is there to help you with that as well. Then we're going to do something called placing your first blocks, which is where everybody starts, and it's a good orientation exercise. I get a feeling today we're probably going to just start first blocks, and we might need to pick up some other bits of that when we come back in. We'll have a look at what build challenges are. We'll look at how it branches out across other areas of the curriculum, and then finally at the end we'll look at versionings and exporting projects and whatever else, and we'll do some question and answers as we go through. So the why bit comes back to these areas here. The Minecraft education is by its very nature a blank canvas of creativity, and it really does foster that growth mindset about what's possible, and there's no limits to this. It is almost infinite. It's as far as the pupil or the teacher wants to take it. And I will emphasize what I used to say when I was teaching coding and computing a few years ago and training teachers for that. You are going to live in a realm where they will always know far, far more than you know, and you're going to have to get used to them almost taking some ownership of leading the learning after you sow the seed and put them off in an initial direction, maybe course correct with the old mini plenary here and there in between. But they will live it, breathe it, they will love it, and they will always know way more than you can possibly have time to get your head around. So you just have to accept that, not be threatened by it. In fact, I find it quite liberating that I don't need to necessarily know all this stuff, and that they can teach me a few things as well at the same time. It's really refreshing. The creativity that you get from it is amazing, but the skill sets that they obtain from using it are quite considerable. The things like problem solving or creatively working together, that collaborative working opportunities are again quite significant. I've seen some really tricky first-hand classroom pairings that I know if I'm going to give them something in the real world physically to do, they won't work. It'll be fisticuffs across the table. I'll have a disagreement. One of them will be coming over to me, or if I was doing this in secondary, one of them will get up and walk off in the group. But it just doesn't happen. Once they seem to get engrossed in the Minecraft world, they're focused and they're almost being respectful of what each other are doing. And that is one of those other skills, that being respectful and the growing in resilience of learning. They're all the skills that are developed through using Minecraft in education. I find as well that anything I do in Minecraft is sticky as anything. It doesn't go away. I might have delivered it 9 months, 12 months ago, but if I mention it and then put it in context of, oh yeah, when we were doing Egyptians, we built pyramids, and then we tunneled into the pyramids and we built the tombs and we placed the relics, I'd get a classroom of eyes light up, and they would all instantly remember every detail, and they could remember about Coptic jars and so forth. So it's just so powerful in getting it stuck in their memory, and it doesn't disappear, and you can come back to it. And it's not just things like topic work. It can lend itself to all the core subjects as well, like your English and your maths, and we'll have a look at those in a little bit. I think the emphasis for teachers is to get your head around the fact that this isn't gaming. It's not gamification, it's game-based learning, and we'll come on to that in a moment. So there's 6 principles to discuss, and we'll come on to those after we look at the difference between gamification. So gamification is where you're going to introduce gaming or gaming as a reward. So it might be in a primary setting, like if we stay on track, we get through what we need to do, and everyone's putting their best effort in maths this week, we're going to have some golden time as a class. It might be the iPads out and you can choose which app you're going to use or whatever else. And that would be gamification. But game-based learning is very different. It's that using it as a tool to become immersed in an environment. You use them to engage them in an aspect of what you'd normally deliver, except it's delivered through the vehicle of Minecraft. That, as I said earlier, that resilience, that problem solving, that sticking with it and the persistence of not giving up, it all comes from that game-based learning. They want to be in that world. They want to stay in that world, and they will try their hardest to do something that they might give up on in the real world. It's amazing the difference that you can get in that building the communication collaboration. Sometimes they'll be working in pairs, sometimes they'll be working singly, and sometimes they'll all have a whole class aim. So they might be building an entire town, for instance, and they're all delivering an element of that town. So you have to get the whole class all talking to each other, but it's there, and it's there all the time, which is more important. So the 6 principles are these. You are going to fail, and you're going to fail pretty frequently, particularly at the beginning, and not to be scared of that and almost celebrate it. And I know we talk about that as teachers, and don't be afraid to fail. You're going to learn from that. You as a teacher, I guarantee the first time you get out, you're going to have a few frustration moments and you won't get what you want from it. But if you stick with it, you will get there. It is one of those things where, excuse me, as an adult, we seem to find it slightly harder than as a child. The flexibility for what you want to do with it is very much open. Think of it like a toolbox of possibility, and you can apply that to absolutely anything you like in a subject. We'll come on to a few more examples of that in a bit. It's the building and being respectful of what other people are building. It allows you, I think of it like Lego, in the fact that you can build anything out of it, and the only limitation is either the number of bricks you've got, the time, or sometimes your imagination if you don't know what it can do. But if you really are a keen Lego builder, you can build anything, even real model cars. I saw something like Bugatti building a model Lego car which actually drove, and it had an engine and everything. Anyway, since you can get across the skills that you want to foster in them for resilience when they're older, that systematic thinking, that problem solving, that thinking about the true meaning of what they're going with, and building empathy with others, it's really important that you talk to the class at the beginning of Minecraft projects and say, look, there's going to be a lot of time and effort that's going into this. You need to have empathy for all the other people here. They're going to be very passionate about what they're building. Don't go in and intentionally destroy environments. Respect what the other person's done. Give them suggestions about how to improve it further, but don't criticize. And they do genuinely take that on board and run with it. as long as you've had that discussion in the first place. And even if in the real world, when we go back to normal Minecraft, they might go into a multiplayer game after school and they might be in there destroying someone's environment or doing things that you wouldn't normally do in Minecraft Education, they won't do it in Minecraft Education. They will stick with what you've fostered in the classroom. Before I go through to technical setup, does anybody want to ask any questions about the 6 principles or any of the elements there about gamification versus game-based learning? Or even share anything you've done so far? Silence. Okay, I'll move on again. So this bit here is something to be aware of, and you are going to need to get your Turnitin consultant to possibly help you out with. It depends on how much access you've got to your school network and how much flexibility you have with people devices. So in order to use Minecraft Education Edition, you're going to need an Office 365 education license. Now, you are teachers and you have an Office 365 education tenancy in your school, and you've got a license for that as a teacher, and your pupils, if they have accounts, will have that as well. So there should be no problems logging in. If it was an issue and maybe you were a G Suite school and you wanted to use it, you would have to buy licenses, and they're £4 per pupil per year. But as I've said, most people are Office 365, so you should be able to get into it, not a problem. When I share this presentation with you, the click here bit takes you out to a checking website, and all you do is put your email address in, and Microsoft tell you if it's valid with a license or not. It's as simple as that. Devices that are supported. Anything running Windows 10, Windows 7 doesn't work with Minecraft Education Edition. It works with Mac OS, so if you're a school that has Apple Mac computers, that will be fine. And if you've got iPads as well, there is an iPad app. If you are running anything Android or Chromebook, I'm afraid at the moment that isn't developed for those platforms, and Microsoft doesn't have it on the roadmap to provide anything for those platforms either. You do, particularly if you want to use some of the multiplayer and collaboration features, you need to have all of your school devices attached to the same Wi-Fi network. Well, that's normally not an issue because if you get your set of laptops out, they are. But they also have to have all the email addresses in the same tenancy. In other words, in the same Office 365 accounts that the school addresses are all in. So normally all your staff accounts and your pupil accounts are in one tenancy, and that's not an issue. You're going to need to make sure everyone's in the same channel to communicate, and I'll show you that in a minute. It just means you're all almost like on the same frequency as well as being in the same Wi-Fi network. If you're not, you can't allow communication, and what you'll be in there, you'll be able to see each other, but you won't be able to communicate with each other. And then the real techie bit at the bottom, you're going to have to get your Turnitin consultants to check. In order to use some of the features in Minecraft, you'll need to have certain ports open to the internet, and you are going to need to either put a support ticket in or make a request either to someone internally that supports it, or even just download and check. But things like multiplayer or using features like Code Builder will not work if those ports aren't open. So you can install Minecraft, it might open up and work absolutely fine, and you have certain features that will just fail, and that will be why, because the ports aren't open. So those will be something else that you need to take on board before you can start using Minecraft Education Edition. So a little bit of prep to save some frustrations when you start to use them. And as with everything, if you could use it with a colleague in school first before you use it with the pupils, it often irons out if there's anything going to go wrong. It will go wrong between you before you use it with the pupils. Any questions on technical setup? Because I know I've covered a bit of techiness there. I just wanted to check you're all okay with that. Okay. So as far as it goes, we'll quickly in a moment jump over into Minecraft itself so you can see the real thing. We are going to start by placing our first block. So I'll give you an orientation of the software. So we'll look at My Worlds, where to find lessons and build challenges. We'll have a look at biomes and worlds. We'll also show you how to get to Code Builder. And then at the end, we'll show you how to export it. So the rest of this, I'm going to jump out of the presentation and I'm going to jump over to Minecraft Education Edition itself. So when you launch it, it will come in like this, and you won't get straight to where it says play settings and switch accounts. It'll want to log in. And if you're already using your Office 365 account on your computer because you're using it in the, let's say the Edge browser or something, it will detect that in Minecraft Education Edition. And if that's the account you want to sign in with, all well and good. But if you're not signing in with that account, you're signing in with a different one, you'll need to just press cancel and then put in the other account that you need to associate with Minecraft Education Edition. You'll get used to it once you've done it a couple of times, But 90% of you are just going to use your school account, so that won't be a problem. There might be the odd few of you, so that's why I flag it, so you don't get flawed straight away. Once you're in here, one of the first things you'll probably do is set your Minecraft avatar down here. If you go in, unlike full-blown Minecraft, you won't get quite as many options, but you'll be able to, you'll come in but as the default one there, but you'll be able to come in and choose, here's some recent ones I've used, here's team avatars, and then you can add them in and you all of a sudden change over. You can change things like hair color and all bits and pieces. So it's a nice little thing to play around with. They're always adding a few extra ones in, and sometimes you see the old one disappear, but you've got quite a bit of choice, so that most people in the class won't duplicate one, and they will look different. So once you've got that, you press confirm down here. You can also have a look around yourself and see what's going on and just customize so you're happy. Put a time limit on that with pupils, otherwise you'll spend half the lesson going in to change that, and they'll only need to do that once, and they'll get it how they like it. The other area to get correct before you start to use it is settings. When you go into settings, there's quite a few in here. I'm going to here just on web settings, but a few ones that you'll want to be sure of. Keyboard and mouse. So traditionally, this is a keyboard stroke mouse orientated product. I managed to kill my mouse last week, so I'm currently using keyboard and a trackpad. The trackpad is far fiddlier than using a mouse. So if you haven't got a mouse, invest in a mouse. And also, if you don't have mice for the children to use, this doesn't apply to touchscreen devices like iPads. But if you're using desktops or laptops, here where you've got different buttons to pick things, you'll want those to be assigned to a mouse. So plugging in a mouse auto assigns those buttons correctly, but you'll want to get one in there because they are going to get frustrated using the trackpad and using laptops. You can, once you get really pro, you can attach things like an Xbox controller via Bluetooth, and you can control your product that you've produced in Minecraft World using those buttons, so you can see what the left button, right buttons, and direction hands do. It's got quite a bit of scope there. Touch functions are there, so if you're using it on an iPad, you can go in and change your touch functions. They're slightly different to get used to the keyboard and mouse functions. Going into your profile, a lot of it you can leave as it is. If you need to swap accounts because you're moving between maybe a pupil and a teacher view, that's where you can do it. The rest of them I wouldn't fiddle with. The only other one I'm going to show you is video. Minecraft is quite intensive on your device, and even if you've got a reasonably up-to-date laptop, it's going to make it chug. The laptop I'm using currently, supplied from Turn It On, is a reasonably good spec laptop, but it is roaring away and it's getting quite hot. So you're going to realize that it will put a demand on your laptop. If you need to make it run a little more easily and a little better without putting so much strain on, you can change things like drag these bars back here, and it will help with just removing some of the demand on the processor, like fancy leaves or fancy bubbles. If you switch them off, it means there's less graphics rendering and it makes it easier on the computers. If you've got a computer that sounds like a jet it's about to take off, switching off a few of the nice features won't detract from what you're going to do, but the graphics won't look quite so smooth. It does make a difference to the way you're playing. Apart from that, there's not a lot else to show you. Languages, if you need it, you can have Minecraft, a bit like other aspects of Microsoft products. You can have other languages in there. So if you've got EAL pupils in your classroom, you need French, Spanish, Polish. In your area, maybe you've got a high Polish community, you can get it displaying access to learning, so that the English language isn't a barrier. Okay, that is really getting started, settings and everything else. So I'm going to go into play. You'll be then presented with this. You can either join a world, and this is what your pupils will more likely do because you'll be hosting. So you click join a world and you put in a code. I'll show you in a minute how, as a teacher, you generate that code. It'll be one of these icons here. They pop them in up there. They press confirm, and then they'll all drop into the same Minecraft world if you need them to be working together. And in order for that to happen, you'll need to get those ports open. Otherwise, they'll try that and it will fail. And say it can't. You can go to the library. In the library, you've got lessons. You've also got monthly build challenges, which are really good for picking up Microsoft. So they refresh those roughly once a month. You can go back and get historical ones. And in there, it will challenge them to use different methods of Minecraft to solve problems. It might be, I mentioned in cross curricular here might be you go into something like area and volume. So I downloaded that, and you can go in there. So area equals length times width. And you can have a maths lesson where you look at the three-dimensional aspects. You might be looking at the perimeter of an object as well. That's another good one that works quite well there. You can use it for other areas of maths. It's not shape space measure. You can have a quite successful maths lesson. How to play if they get stuck. Tutorials are down there. Something that I'm going to show you in here is really useful. Is you've got featured worlds and biomes. You will not, when you get started, waste loads of time doing worlds. You go in here, bringing pupils in. You'll find something to do, whether you're going to bring them a windmill, or you might have featured worlds and biomes. So biomes are like landscapes. You can have a desert biome, forest, ocean. You can just drop straight into it, and it's there. It's creative. So then the focus is there to not building a plain flat landscape, which is the time. So biomes and worlds, go in and get those. Lessons you've already got pre-made for you. So if you want to go and pick some up that are already made, Microsoft has done that, and there's quite a big community around. Well, if I went into maths, it is unfortunately organised in American grades, but you very quickly get a feel for what grade translates into English systems. You go in there.
Martin. Hi, Martin. It's Tom. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can.
I don't know if anyone else is having, whether it's just me, is anyone else struggling with the sound quality coming through?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it keeps dipping in and out.
Stop me if it is. I can try. Let me unshare and reshare and see if that helps.
Yeah. I just wonder whether it's, I'm not sure. We don't normally have issues from your home broadband, but I wonder whether it's what you've just said about the demand on the laptop with running Minecraft at the same time, and whether there is anything like that button that you just showed us to stop Minecraft taking up so much of the resource of the laptop. I don't know whether it's that or whether it's your broadband.
Okay, let me just talk for a minute. Can you hear me normally, or is that still breaking up?
That's okay.
Okay. Shall we try? And if not, I'll go back to settings and knock out a few settings and see if that helps.
I'll jump back in again if it goes again.
Okay. Thanks, Tom. And anyone else, don't sit there and suffer. Just take Martin, just hold on a minute. It's not working for me. All right. The next bit I'll go into, because I'm conscious you haven't actually done any building, is placing first blocks. So you can go into blocks of grass, which is a world that you can pick up. It is exactly that. It is a world that has an endless amount of grass, and you can go in there. And I said about hosting, if you as a teacher need to host, click the host button. You're going to go in. Oh, it's taken me into my world. Let me come back out a minute. As I'm hosting, there is my hosting code. So I've gone in on my own, but what I could get are all the other pupils in my class to join me. So if they entered Water Bucket, Panda, Potion, and Water Bucket, they will all of a sudden drop into my world as well. And then they would all be stood around me, and we could get on with doing a project collaboratively all together. So that's how you get people to join the world. You select host, and then you give them the join code. They won't be able to get in if you don't give them the join code, and the join code will be different each time you go into a different world. Is my audio still holding up?
Can I just ask, how long does that join code stay valid for?
It stays valid for the time you're working on that project. So if you, while you're working on it that day, the join code will be the same. But for instance, if I came back on a second day and I was leading a training webinar, it was a Minecraft training webinar, I'd have to give people another join code for that day. So you wouldn't have pupils secretly going back in behind your back and all joining in without you being there.
Okay, thank you.
No problem at all. When you arrive in the lovely blocks of grass, it will just be a world with some animals wandering around. So you'll be able to wander around. You'll see that there's horses and cows and these lovely chickens here wandering. And I started building a house. So one of the first things that you need to do is press the E key to get to equipment. And up will come an equipment area. area where you can search through all the different types of blocks that are available to you to build your Minecraft world. And to get what you like, you can either click up the top here and search. So if I type tree, it'll come up. Let's try bush then. There you go. So bush, I've got rose bush. I've got a dead bush. So you can select either of them. When you want, you just grab it and you bring it down to the bottom here onto your toolbar, and you can drop it in, and you can then have the item that you wish to put into the bottom. The other way to filter them, actually, it's going to want me to drop it. The other way to filter them is to look across the tabs at the top. To be honest, you can end up spending ages searching. I often go to the search function up here and just start typing, and it isn't perfect the way they've got them labeled, but most of the time you can find common things that you wish to get hold of, and others of them, when you get to it in the end, there's something called crafting. So you can take raw materials and you can craft, build them together. So you might get a piece of metal, a piece of wood, and some twine, and you can craft that into a sword. But that's more of an advanced thing to do. So first of all, and for quite a while, I would just take the blocks that you're given. I wouldn't try going crafting. It's a bit more advanced. So I've popped down here some oak wood blocks, a bit of fencing, and I've got some other things that we'll come to in a minute. So you just drag them in. And unlike normal Minecraft, if any of you play it, you've got a limited amount of resource. But in Minecraft Education Edition, you've got unlimited amounts. So you just throw it in. You can select a certain amount if you want to make it more difficult so people only have a limited amount and have to be creative. Otherwise, it will go in there and you'll have plenty. You can always go back and get more as well. Once you've got that, traditionally you'd use you can either use your mouse to move backwards and forwards, or you can use the W key to move forwards, the S key to move backwards, A to go left, B to go right, and then on your trackpad on your computer, on your mouse, that is your orientation, so you can go around. So you get used to doing what I'm doing now. You wander around and you orientate at the same point. So you might go, there's the horse, but actually no, I want to go back over here. So you just use the keys, and you'll also get very used to doing that. The other thing for moving around in the first place is press the space bar. Pressing it once will cause you to jump. Hold it down and all of a sudden you'll be able to go up above, and you can walk around in the air and build from above. So if I decided I want to come down a little bit there, I want to start building from above because it's easier, I might then start building up here like this, and I'm not still at the wall, so actually there's no barrier to me throwing in my blocks. And then I might decide I'm going to go up a bit further because it's easier again. So it seems a bit weird to be floating around in the air like that, but it just makes it easier for building. But it does take a bit of getting used to as a teacher for doing it. If you want to get back down to ground, you can either double tap the space bar or hold down the shift key. I will say one of the things you'll need to get used to is there's a shortcut sheet on Minecraft link, which I'll give you at the end of this presentation. In having those key shortcuts, as placemats on the desk are quite useful for pupils and staff at the beginning, because otherwise you do spend a bit of time trying to think, well, now which key do I press to go here, or which key gets me to this point? Then to get the things out of your toolbar at the bottom, you need to use the number keys on your computer. So at the moment I'm on the wooden blocks. If I press number 2, it's the spruce fence. Number 3 is the slate. Number 4 is the poster, and so forth. So you've got to have the line around the thing that you want to interact with, and then once you've got it, you can start placing it. And then I might decide to throw up a fence to keep my livestock in, and then it will just keep building from there. So once you've got the basics, one of the first things you do in placing blocks is just to get them to put some different blocks into their equipment and try to build something like a simple house with a fence around it and see if they can coax an animal in or something like that. And that will take a lesson or two just to get them used to it. The ones that are Minecraft evangelists at home will go, do you know what, I know how to do this and I'm quite quick, but then harness that power and that resource in the classroom and get them teaching other pupils that maybe aren't familiar with it, or showing you if you're something you don't know, get them to come up to the front and give the class some input. Don't think you've got to know all the answers. The other thing you can do, and I've just done it there, is you can knock holes in the landscape. So if I right click and I haven't got something to get hold of, or a left click, will knock away the block underneath. So I might go back to 1 and, you know what, I'm going to replace that block underneath there with a different type of landscape, and on it goes. So you can knock things down as well as build them at the same time. So left click will destroy a block and right click will place a block, or you can throw blocks as well, and you throw them out there at the same time. You throw them out of range. So very basically that's orientation, but then quite quickly you'll get onto, well, what can I do to embed this in learning? So one of the more advanced things you can do is you can put non-player characters in. So this is what's called an NPC, and they can help you. So they might be there as a wise sage to give instructions. You can also have things like agents, and instead of you walking around building your house, you can code an agent. So another element is if you press C for code builder, you can use it for computing as well. So you can code in Minecraft, and you can code in block-based coding like Scratch or Kodoo, but you can also use it for script-based coding in upper Key Stage 2. So I've used that with Year 6 and also into Key Stage 3. So you can use it for JavaScript and script-based coding. My broadband is clearly having a moment. Is my voice breaking up at all, or am I still clear? I don't know if that's
Still
going to
clear.
cover it. Okay. Code builder might not load. It's quite intensive, but what you get are the same types of blocks as you get in Scratch, where you can click them together, but you can use them to program things like agents to do jobs for you. So you can get it to walk forward, place a box, walk forward, place a block, and all of a sudden you can get it building a row, and it will do that indefinitely. Then you need to go back in and code it to turn right after placing 20 blocks, then place another 20 blocks, and then you can get it to loop up and up and up. So you can go ahead and do other more creative things while you've got an agent doing that, but we need to cover that in another session. You can have it so that you can start to capture your work really, really quickly. So two of the things I want to show you from today's session is, if I hit number 9, booking quill is really useful. If I click booking quill, up comes a book, and you'll be able to see then I can capture my learning for my teacher. So the booking quill can document what I've been doing. So this has got a couple of pictures in here that I've been doing with other things, but I can turn the page over, click on the page, and then all of a sudden I've got a page where I can start typing. I've created a house, and I can describe to my teacher what's in there. If I wanted to, I could go down onto another page, and I might just say, I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to press the edit button at the bottom. So I can add in pages from other books, or I can add in other materials. So if I press plus, I can take some of the photos that I've already captured previously, and I can add them in. So then into my book is my booking quill. What you can do then is, if you've got pupils that are going to find that quite daunting, right here in Minecraft is Immersive Reader. So if I wanted to go back and I couldn't get that page read because maybe my reading level isn't high, or I'm struggling to read the font, I hit Immersive Reader, and an Immersive Reader kicks in right in the middle of Minecraft, and it'll take you away from all this clutter and this madness with the booking quill, and it'll load up Immersive Reader, and then you'll have all the features in Immersive Reader that you've got in a traditional product from Microsoft, but they're right here in Minecraft. So there it is, and what I could do is I could kick it off and replace it so it's going to read from there, and I've got all the features I would normally have over here, and it's right there so that you can access the booking quill, and they can access each other's booking quills as well. You can leave them around the environment for each other to read. At the end, once you've created it for your project, you can sign it, you can give it a title, and then you only want to do that once because it's permanent once you've signed it. Once you've signed it off, it will export, and then it can become things like a PDF. So you can put it into Teams to use as evidence for learning what you've been doing in Minecraft, and they'll get used to really quickly taking pictures or writing down what they've done as an explanation so that you can assess their learning and the progress they've made, because they're keeping a diary of it themselves. One of the last things I think I'm going to show you for today, because I'm conscious time is ticking, is the camera. The camera is really good. So you can throw a camera into your environment. Let me just come around here. So if I throw my camera here, I can just take a picture of it. I might want to go that way and take a picture of it. That's how I've got my pictures that are going in there. Or I could, if I look at it and highlight one of the squares on the ground, I can place my camera there. I could walk up to it a bit more accurately. And then if I click on the camera, it will bubble away, and it will take a picture of me and then disappear. And then when I want to, I can go back to my booking quill and replace that in my environment. And I could go back and say, do you know what? I didn't want that picture there because I've already used it. So I'm going to go back into my edit. I'm going to delete my picture. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to add in another picture, and I'm going to scroll down to find the one I took today. Oh yeah, that's my house. That's what I've been building. Here is my house. I've constructed it, and I'm going to adapt it into a Tudor Towers product. That's the thing I wanted, not a picture of me. And then out I come, and then I can carry on with my placing my first blocks. So really quickly, even from the outset, you'll be able to get some very pleasing output, and pupils will be able to capture what they've been doing. So you as a teacher, not only in the lesson, but after the lesson, will be able to get a feel for what they're doing. With the end of things, when you save and exit, here we go. Save and exit, save and exit. It will save it back to your computer. So one of the features that everyone is desperate for on Microsoft for is to save this back up to OneDrive, or to save this to the cloud so that you can pick it up from somewhere. But at the moment, it will save it locally. It will save it onto the computer. And at the end of the lesson, you're going to need to get used to pupils then copying the file for Minecraft and sticking it on a network share or popping it in their OneDrive. So if I, for instance, I open up my computer and I went into Minecraft Education Edition, in here are some projects. No, that's not that folder. So that one I stuck it in. No, really, I'm not that one there. In here are projects. So these are projects that I've exported. And then what I can do is either put that into my OneDrive or move that into a network share over here on the side. What it doesn't do is save directly. It will always save it locally from the downloads folder unless you specify the save somewhere. So you've got that aspect to think of, and you need to make sure you allow time for that at the end of the lesson. Otherwise, what you'll get is a rush, and they won't save their work, and then they'll lose it when you come back in. If you want to go back into it, you can go into settings over here. And down the bottom there, that's where you export your world, or you can delete your world, or you can copy it. If you want to take a copy out, you want to then go into it again. And then very quickly, you'll build up a repertoire. So in here, if I go and show you this one, just to finish off, we took a biome. This was a group of teachers I was working with. We quickly took the biome. We thought,
Martin, we're losing you again.
Yeah.
Am I Daleki?
Yeah.
You are going Daleki indeed.
Daleki, garlicky. Hold on.
It's whilst you're just doing that, I mean, it looks amazing from someone that hasn't used it. It's big, isn't it? It's a big bit of software. Has anyone here actually used it already in a class or a small group of children? Take that as a no. Then.
Was that a no then, Tom?
Yeah, I'm just interested. I suppose it's a similar question as to what I asked when we did the Skype in the classroom session is, where would you get started if you were tentatively taking your first steps with this as a teacher? Where would you go? You know, I think you said for Skype in the classroom, it was like do one of the virtual museum or zoo visits or something like that, and that would be a good starting point for that. For this, Martin, what would be a good starting point, do you think?
A good starting point for this, it's funny you should say that. I just need to reshare my screen. My computer is having an absolute hissy fit a minute because I did first steps. Can you now see my computer again, guys? If I put that on, can you see that?
No.
Not yet.
Yeah.
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 So instead of going into something like this, which is where we took a biome and we built Iron Bridge from Shropshire, and you were using it for a history lesson, I would have said, when placing the first blocks, you need to go and pick up blocks of grass and just start from there. So I did prepare some. Let me come out of that. I did
Martin,
prepare some-
just to let you know as well, that Teams meeting that's just popped up on your screen,
Yes.
I've told them all that we're not going to be there for a while.
Gorgeous. Thank you, Tom. One of the things that you want to do, and this is my next steps for you all, another little thing on top of the mech, and I'm not trying to load you with jobs in a very pressurized time, but you will really benefit from this. The Minecraft Education Edition community, the MEEC, I know it's another acronym, but we love that in education. The MEEC is an amazing place. So if you do nothing else, go and sign up and become a community member, because what there is behind all of this is a really dedicated community. And there are also people that are Minecraft mentors and Minecraft certified kicking around in there that literally have nothing else to do, that live and breathe this, that will gladly suddenly take you to one side, give you a tutorial, or just point you in the right direction. And it saves hours, and it will stop you going grey if you go and have a go at being in there. So that is step one. But the other thing, if my PowerPoint's going to work, is we've got the courses for you teed up as normal. So we've got the mech courses. There's a building blocks of code, which is the beginner course, and then you can go on to the Minecraft journey, and there's lessons 1 to 8 of that. That's what I was talking about. And there's also a lot of pre-prepared resources on the Minecraft homepage for things like those placemats. So as far as going today, I would like you to go to the blocks of grass, which is in Worlds, which is just a plain flat area with blocks of grass, and try building yourself a house. Pick up some equipment and build yourself a house, and then move on to trying one of the solo projects, and then have a go at the class project. Do not attempt to try and do any of the projects until you've done blocks of grass. And the minute you have a go at that, and you've made a hole in the ground, so one of the first things you'll probably do is right click too many times under your feet, and you'll take out the blocks underneath you, and you'll realize that the world is only 4 blocks deep, and you'll drop through the bottom and die. But that's one of the joys of getting used to using it in the first place. Once you've got used to things like that, then start to do more things challenging, or load up an existing environment and try to maybe add another room to a house or put a roof terrace on it. But practice with it way before you want to use it in the class. And then you can do some amazing things, such as, I know that when Tom and I went around one of the GATS schools, which is a showcase schools from Microsoft, they were being really creative with it there. They were creating the front page of their books. So they'd written books, and they'd written them in a traditional sense, but they were making the front cover in Minecraft. And then they zoomed up in the air using the spacebar. And with the camera equipment, they took a picture of the front cover they created in 3 dimensions. And then they printed that and they put it onto their paper book. So that was the application of Minecraft Education Edition in that English project. It taught them loads of other skills. And some did it in pairs, some did it individually, but they used Minecraft to create the front cover of their book for a bigger project. So you can make it as non-threatening as you want for your first one, and maybe it is just building a house, or you do something like that book cover and then get onto the more technical stuff afterwards. But as Tom has just said, it can seem very big, and don't try to take it all on at once. Just pick a very small area of it and build your skill set.
Thanks, Martin. There's a couple of things in the chat which I'm finding it quite hard to see because I'm on my phone.
Okay, let me stop sharing. I'll have a look.
You're just having a quick look at a couple of things that have come up in there. Whilst Martin's doing that, has anyone got any other questions or comments on anything so far today?
I've got a question, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So at home at the moment, obviously we're not in with a class of children, unfortunately, so we can't test it in that way. But I've got my 2 children here with their own devices. If I was to download it onto my work laptop and then download it onto their laptops, we're on the same Wi-Fi. And if I gave them a test email account or Office 365 account through school, could they then trial it out for me?
Yes.
Yeah, I would have thought that would work, wouldn't it, Martin? That would
It's
be
absolutely fine. Yeah, you'll be fine. It will allow you to sign in on multiple devices with the same account, so you'll be okay.
Fantastic. Right, that's brilliant. Thank you.
Any other questions? Let me just jump over. My computer has gone completely laggy. Hold on, now I can get to the conversation. It is slowly rendering. If anyone wants to unmute their mic to save this painful experience and just ask me their question, chat is loading at the pace of a snail going backwards.
It's actually something that Steph's posted on there. Which I was wondering whether you know about and whether you'd comment on, which is that Steph's used Minecraft on code.org.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've come across that, Martin.
Yeah, I have used code.org for coding teaching. And again, yeah, there are resources on there. So Steph, have you used the lessons on there, or have you used more than that on there?
I just started using it for my computing club.
Yes.
We did the first, I think, scene together, and they were just all over it, loving it. And I just thought it was quite a nice stepping stone into like the education pack.
Yeah, it is brilliant for that. And code.org has got such a depth of resource on there too.
I love code.org.
Yeah.
Thing is,
It saved my life.
I think that's the thing. It's just trying to find. I think whenever something is new and particularly bits of software are new, they quite often start with sort of just completely blank white pages, or in this case, a completely blank world. And it's just knowing where to start and getting a few steps in and get your kids to do a few steps, and then suddenly it all goes from there. And with the solo projects, Martin, and the group projects that you suggested people do, are they on Minecraft already? You can access specific solo or group projects. Did you show us that at the beginning? Is that what those
so
were?
when you go into lessons or worlds, you can pick them up from there. Also, when you go to the Minecraft homepage, you can go and pick up links to projects from there, like solo projects or world projects. Normally it's a fairly obvious as well, because it's something that requires multiple people for a build, like the pyramid scenario I gave you, or it might be just you might be using it for science. So one that I quite frequently do is I get them to create a very large pond, and I get them to fill it with water, and then I get them to build their ecosystem in there. And then you can use the coding tool to program the fish. So instead of it being food webs or food chains traditionally on a piece of paper 2D, you can actually have a live real world pond. And when certain fish get too close to each other, they either eat the weed or they eat each other. And you can look at how that works and transference of energy and all sorts of things. So you can take it as far as you want to.
And is it the case that normally that a full class of children would be working in one world together, but is there an optimum amount of children that you'd have working on a particular project together, like building a house, or is it all just it just changes from thing to thing, depends what you're doing?
It is very much up for grabs depending on what you're doing, and I've only ever attempted it. I've never done 60. I think the most I had was about 40, 42. And a large situation where I had to load in a hall together. It depends what you feel comfortable with. I wouldn't try putting them all into a group project until you feel that you've got them familiar with a solo project and you are also comfortable walking around checking that they're okay with the skills they need to access Minecraft.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
It is pretty much over interpretation. Tom, I was going to, unless anyone's got any other questions, I was going to finish off with the final next steps. No. Okay.
Sorry.
I've got a dog. I'm competing with a dog now.
The dog's got some questions, Martin.
The dog wants to know what on earth you're doing, Martin, and you call this work. So as far as what comes next, today we have just completed Minecraft Education Edition. We're coming towards the end of the sessions that we have together. We've got what originally we conceived when Tom and I were planning this. We thought we would have a big face-to-face Well, we got you all in, and I was going to set you up a massive project where we used elements of Office 365 and what we've covered together so far. And we were going to put that together and help you to use it to build your project to submit for your MIEE application. I would still like to do that, and we'll find some way to make that happen in a distant scenario, but it would be a longer thing than just the 1 hour with us. It might be that we look at a half day for that, but we'll send you more details as and when. And we're looking at Thursday, the 18th of June as it was, but we also appreciate schools may reopen. So we will work with you on your availability for that and what looks best for the group. But just to say, that will be the next session we got together. And Tom, you might better help me out here. Do we have another MIEE speaker booked or not?
Yeah, we do. And we've got Paul Edge, who is on your slide there. And Paul is interesting in that he's deputy head of a secondary school. So he's done lots there, and he's also done a one-to-one rollout system. So every child has a device. But what's interesting about it is it's a parental contribution system that they've run at the school. So each of the parents pay, I think, £13 a month. And that gives the kids an 11-inch touchscreen device, insured, and all the various different bits, antivirus and so on it. Really mainly applicable to secondary, but some primaries are starting to think about potentially doing that with year sixes. So that's quite interesting. I'm also hoping to get on a head teacher from a primary school to talk to us as well. Okay. The other bit that I just wanted to say to people is, if people would like to, we will put on a session sometime in I don't know, early mid-June, where people could talk through how far they've got so far on their sways. So the application to Microsoft, it's just I don't know whether it would be useful to help one another out in terms of what you've put on your sway so far, and also just to have something like a deadline almost, or a starting point to get people's minds focused on it. Because I know that at the moment, obviously, there's 101 other things that people need to be concentrating on that's probably more important than getting a sway together. So if that's useful, we'll put that session in.
When can we hand in the sways?
You can actually do them any time from now. So as far as I'm aware, the application process is open so I think it was late April through to mid-July. So in theory, if you feel like you've got it complete, it's any time now. The person that's actually assessing them, or certainly was last year, was Jen King from Microsoft. And I don't know if you recall, but she was on the very first session that we ran. And I'll actually get in touch with her and ask exactly that question and what the process is, if that's helpful. I'll post it in the chat.
Is it when you send it off? Is that your chance? Like, you send it, they check it, and they see from there. I mean, how likely is it we'll get this?
It's very likely you'll get it.
Oh,
so I think you won't be wasting your time. I think Microsoft know all about this program, and they're really interested in it. And I think I put something up last week in the chat, which basically said that Turn It On is applying to work with Microsoft to roll, and Microsoft want us to potentially roll out this program to schools across the country. So I think for all of you that have been on it, kind of the first time that we've done it, and we are, we're making this up as we go along, really, and I hope people are finding it helpful. I think Microsoft are going to be really, really interested in it, and I think they're going to think all of your applications are are fantastic, actually. So there's a
Oh.
very good chance, I think, of getting on it. But I want
I
to
mean-
make sure that we support each other in that process so that it doesn't feel, often it feels like, I think, when you're a teacher, that you're doing things on your own and you don't know what the school down the road or teacher down the road is actually doing. So it might be nice, I thought, to come on and, just do a very informal session in a couple of weeks' time where people say because there's 4 questions, I think, that Microsoft asked to answer, mainly about how you've incorporated technologies into the classroom and the impact they've had. And I think if people, don't need to share their sways, but actually just say, this is something I've put on, this is something else I've put on, this is something else, and just because you've probably all done more things than you think you have.
Tom, would it be possible at some point to, I think at some point you shared some examples of previous applications, and perhaps it would be useful to see those and see some kind of normal applications, because I know we saw Lanny's, which was obviously incredible, but I wonder whether we would be able to see kind of normal applications to kind of help us along the way before we have that meeting.
Definitely. So what I will do then, I will post them in the chat. Do you remember I talked about they actually choose 5 teachers from the UK each year to go to something called E2? And these are the sort of their top 5 applications, basically. And E2 is a global Microsoft teaching conference. This year it was in Paris. I don't know whether it actually happened or not, because I think it might have been a month or 2 ago. So, and the year before it was in Sydney. I have got the application, the MIEE applications for the 5 people that did that last time. So they're very good applications, all of these ones. I've definitely got those, which I can share.
I've just put them in chat, Tom.
Oh, great. I will ask Jen King whether there are some just sort of standard ones. And whilst I'm waffling on here, it's just occurred to me that actually the ones that Martin's put in the chat are not standard MIEE1 applications. They are people that have got their MIEE maybe the year before, and then they've applied to E2. So I think they're specific E2 applications as opposed to a standard MIEE one. They'll still have lots of good content that you can use, but I'll speak to Jen and see if we can get some standard ones as well, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great.
How many people nationwide apply each year?
Could you say that again? Sorry.
How many people apply each year across the country?
I don't know, actually. That's a good question. I'll find out. I mean, it's a global program, and I think there's something like 35,000 MIEEs globally.
Oh, goodness.
Tom, how quickly do you find out if you've got the MIEE after your application's in?
Don't know. Another good question. Sounds like it would be good to get Jen on a call, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
we could ask her all these things, but they're really hard to get hold of at the moment, Microsoft, for fairly obvious reasons. But I will make a note of all of these things and bring those up.
Do you advise we wait until a couple of weeks' time before we send ours in?
No, I think whenever you're happy with it, I think you should do it. I think probably maybe wait a week. Let me get hold of Jen and get them so that they know that they're coming, and I might give her a list of all the people from Turn It On schools and from this program, so she can make sure she keeps an eye out for them. That would be one thing. I'll just give her a heads up that they're starting to come, and then no, I think you're if you're happy with it, then you're fine to go, really.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Would it be helpful? I know it's a bit of a vague question to ask into a general chat, but if And if the answer's silent, then we probably won't do it, which is absolutely fine. But would it be helpful to put a session on in 2 weeks' time where there is no content planned? It's just a conversation between anyone who wants to talk with anyone else about what they're putting into their application to give some ideas to one another.
I'm happy to share ideas.
Yes, please.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, please. I'd like some ideas.
Right, because I think then, well, we'll do that. I'll set up a team a meeting which we can all join, and then we can just talk through, and then hopefully I suspect everyone will have at least 5 to 10 headings that they can put in their sway of things they've done. And I think it's, you know, it's talking about what you've done with your class, what technology you've used, and also what you've done with other teachers, and just and in true CV style, we can enhance it all so it sounds more amazing than it already is.
That's great.
Are there any other questions or comments from today, anyone?
I was just going to add that thanks to Turn It On, because when I looked at that application form initially, I panicked. I didn't think it was possible. So I've done all these boxes. I'd finally finished it today on the Sway, and I thought that's actually thanks to everything you've set us up in the way you did.
Right, that's really nice to hear. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank
And
you.
I think the thing to remember is that most of the people that are on the that are qualified MIEs are not technology experts. It's that thing that Lan talked about. They're just good teachers, and actually they're using technology because they can see the opportunity where it can enhance their teaching. And I think a lot of people forget that and get put off by it because they don't see themselves as a technologist. And actually, we all know that you could put a great technologist, but they're not a very good teacher in front of all this stuff, and it would have zero impact at all. And that's what we need to do in terms of just remembering it's all about the teaching. Okay, well, thanks a lot, everybody. And as ever, thanks, Martin. I think we should wrap it up if people are happy with that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I didn't want to butt in there because you were on a roll.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, everyone, for
Thank
coming
you.
along, and we will speak in a couple of weeks.
Many thanks.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.